Hey folks, I welcome you all to Scalar Academy's YouTube channel. And this is the first video in the SQL tutorial series. Now, before I start off with today's session, I'd request you folks to subscribe to our channel and also hit the bell icon so that you do not miss out on the notifications. So, on that note, in this session, we'll start off by understanding what exactly is SQL, and then we will go ahead and create our first database and table. So before we do all of that, let's understand what is SQL. So simply put, SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Well, that is just the extension of this term SQL. But what can you actually do with SQL? Well, with the help of SQL, you can communicate with databases. Okay, that's fine, but what is a database? Well, whenever you'd have to store data, and if you'd have to store that data in an organized form, you will need a database. So simply put, with the help of a database, you can store your data in an organized form. So let's understand the example of database and tables with a simple example. So I have got this T set with me. I hope you guys can see this properly. So in this T set, what you can consider is this entire thing to be your database. And in this entire thing, what you're doing is you are organizing your data in a proper structured way. So this entire set you can consider to be a database, and these cups which are present inside it, you can consider to be your tables. And if I'd have to simplify it, what I can say is, let's say if you are studying in a college, then your entire college or all of the information about your college would be stored in your database. And in your college database, you can have multiple tables. So you can have one table for student information, another table for the faculty information, another table for the department information. And this is how you store data in tables, and those tables are properly organized in your database. But there's a catch over here. If you'd have to work with the data which is present in these tables or which is present in this database, then you'd need this language called as SQL. Because without the help of SQL, you cannot extract data from these tables. And this is where, my friends, the knowledge of SQL comes in. So with the help of SQL, you can properly either maybe insert data into this table, extract data from this table, or even manipulate the tables which are present inside this. So now that we understand what exactly is SQL, let's go ahead and create our first database and our first table using MySQL Server. So I've opened up MySQL Workbench over here. Now, before I go ahead and create the database, let's again understand what is MySQL and also what is MySQL Workbench. So MySQL is a database management system. So we know what exactly is a database. And again, to work with these databases, what I need is a database management system. And that is exactly what a DBMS means. And we have different types of DBMS. So we've got MySQL, we've got Microsoft SQL Server, we've got the Oracle SQL. And out of these, right now, the DBMS which we are using is MySQL. And if I do want to use the GUI tool of this, that is what is known as MySQL Workbench. So as you can read over here, MySQL Workbench is the official graphical user interface tool for MySQL. And now let me go ahead and open my local instance. So this is what you see over here, local instance, and I'd have to type in my password. So user by default would be root, and then whatever password you had given, just go ahead and type in that. And I have opened up my window. So over here, let me go ahead and create my first database. So to create a database, this would be the syntax. Let me increase the size of it so that you can properly see it. So here I'll write down create a database. And after this, I would have to give in the name of this database. So this create database, what you see are the keywords. So create a database, this is the syntax which you would have to use. After this, just give in the name of the database. Let's say I given the name of this database as college. After this, let me just put in a semicolon and let me select all of this, and this thunder symbol which you see, just click on that. Now when you click on that, here you would see that create database college, and here you would see in response one row has been affected. This would basically mean that I have successfully created my database called as college. Now, after I've created this database, if I'd have to go ahead and create some tables in this database, I would have to use this database. So for this, I will write down use and then given the name of the database. So the name of the database is college. So I'll just write down use college. Again, I will hit on this symbol. Again, you will see that use college response 0 rows has been affected. Again, this would basically mean that I have successfully selected this particular database. Now that I have selected the database, this is my opportunity to create a table inside this database. So inside this college database, I would want to create a table called as student. And to create the student table, this would be the syntax. So I shall write down create table. So by default, this is what you would have to write, create table. And this is the syntax to create a table in your SQL Server table or SQL Server database. So I'll write down create table, and then I'll go ahead and give in a name to this. So I'll just write down student. So this would be the name of my table. After this, I will give in these round braces, and inside these round braces, what I'd want to do is I will give in the column names and also the type of the column name. So first, well, if you're a student at a college, you will have a student ID. So for that student ID, I'll just represent that as SID, and then I will give this a data type. So let's say the data type for this is int. Then going ahead, I would need the first name and the last name of this student. So here I'll just have S first name, and the type of this would be variable, character, or var char. And over here, let me just give in. So let's say the first name, the maximum length of the first name could be 25 characters. Then after this, the student would also have a last name, and if this student has a last name, I would create a new column for this, and I shall call that column as, let me just write down last name over here. Again, I will give this a data type. So for this, again, the data type would be varchar. Again, the length of this, I will set it to be equal to 25. So here 25 basically means that the length of the first name and the last name could be anywhere between 0 to 25 but cannot exceed 25 characters. And now, so I've created columns for the student ID, student name, the student last name. I would also need another column for the student marks. So here I'll write down S marks. Again, let me put it to be integer. So this is also set over here. Now I have given over here 4 columns, and also since everything is set, I will end this command with a semicolon. So what I've basically done over here is I've created a table called as student, and the student column or the student table has 4 columns. So the 4 column as student ID, and the data type of student ID is integer. Then we have first name, and this is a variable length character, which would basically mean you can give strings over here. And over here again I have last name, where again you'll give a string, and then you have the marks where it is of integer type, and you end this entire thing with a semicolon. Now let me select this entire thing and let me hit on this. And here, if you look at this, you will see create table student 0 rows affected. This again would mean that I was successfully able to create this table called as student. Now let me delete this entire thing, and if I would want to see the table, what is present in this table or what records are present in this table, I have a command called as select, or I have the statement called as select. So here I shall write down select star from, and I would have to give in the table name. So the table name is student. So So select star from student would mean that I am selecting everything or all of the records and all of the columns which are present in the student table. So let me select this, let me hit over here, and as you see, I was successfully able to create this student table which had all of these columns. So here I've got the SID, which is the student ID, then I've got the first name, the last name, and S marks. So folks, this is how we can create a database and a table using SQL. So folks, this would be the end of this video. In the next video, we'll see how to insert data items or records into a table. Now, before I end this session, again, I request you folks, if you find this session to be informative, do not forget to hit the like button and also to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So thank you, and let's meet in the next one. Hey folks, I welcome you all to Scalar Academy's YouTube channel. And this is the video number 2 in the SQL tutorial series. In the first video, we understood what exactly is SQL, and after that we went ahead and created our first database and our first table. And in the second video, we'll see how to insert data into our SQL table. So we'll not at all waste time and open MySQL and go ahead and insert records into the table. So I've opened up MySQL Workbench over here. Let me go ahead and connect to my local instance. And over here, again, I would have to give in my password. And I have opened up MySQL Workbench. And over here in the first tutorial or in the first video, if you remember, we had created a table called as student, and that student table was part of the college database. So my first task would be to use the database. So for that purpose, I'd have to write down use database. Let me also just go ahead and increase the size of the text so that you can see this properly. So here I shall write down use college and let me execute this. So we have successfully executed this. Now we have opened our desired database. So the name of the database is college, and in this college database we had created a table called as student. Now let me also go ahead and open that table, or maybe just select all of the records which are currently there in that. So for that we had used something called as select star from student. So what this basically means is I have a table called as student, and from the student table I am selecting all of the columns and all of the records, and that is what the star means over here. Let me again hit on this thunder symbol, and as you see over here, these are the columns present. So I have this column called as SID, then I have another column called as S first name. After that I have a column called as S last name, and then going ahead I have a column called as S marks. But you see that this entire table is empty because we have not yet inserted any data items into this table. So this is what this entire video is about, and in this video we will see how to insert records. So let me just go ahead and do that. Let me decrease the size of this. So here, let me just remove this out. And let me see if I can track this down properly. Seems like I cannot do that. So instead what I'll do is I'll just write down the command to insert data items. So what I'll do is I will write down insert into. So here you'd have to properly remember the syntax. Insert into are the keywords. This is what you'll give. After this you will give in the name of the table. And what is the name of the table? The name of the table is student. So you shall basically write insert into student. Then you will have to give in another keyword which is values. After that you have to give in 2 round braces, and inside these you can give in the values. So the first value is student ID. So let's say the first student ID is 101. Then I would have to give in the first name of the student. So let's say the first name of the student, and also if you remember the first video properly, you would know that the first name, last name are basically var char type columns, And over here I can give in string data type, and whenever I'd have to give in a string, I will enclose that in double quotes over here. So first name, so let's say the name of the first student is, I will write down Annie, and I would have to give in the last name as well. So let's say the last name of this person is Cleopatra. So student ID is 101, first name is Annie, last name is Cleopatra, and I'd have to give in marks as well. So let's just say Annie Cleopatra has scored around 87 marks. Now I will put in a semicolon over here, and I'll select this entire thing, and I will hit this thunder symbol. And we have successfully inserted this into our table. Now, just to verify this, what I'll do is I'll delete this entire thing, and I shall again write down select star from student. And now if I hit this thunder symbol, you will see that I have inserted these values. So we've inserted the first student, or the details of the first student. So SID is 101, first name is Annie, last name is Cleopatra, and this person has scored 87 marks. Now similarly, if I would want to insert the details of the second student, I'll do the same thing. So let me just write down insert into, then I need to give in the name of the table, which would basically be student, and I will give in the keyword values. Again, given this round braces over here, now let's say the next student ID is 102. Now the name of this person is, let me just write down John, and the last name would be Smith. So let me just write this down properly. So this person's entire name is John Smith, and John Smith has scored, let's say, 56 marks. And let me end this syntax with a semicolon. Now I'll select this entire thing, I'll click on this, and we have again inserted this. Now just to verify, I'll delete this. Again, I will use the select statement. So I'll write down select star from, and I would have to give in the name of the table again. So the name of the table is student. Let me write down student over here. Let me end this with a semicolon, and I'll execute this. So right now you would see that I have also inserted the second record where the student ID is 102, student first name is John, student last name is Smith, and this person has scored 56 marks. So folks, this is pretty much it for this video, where we have learned how to insert records into a table. So on that note, I will sign off, and before we actually end this video, I request you folks that if you found this session insightful, do like the video and also subscribe to our channel. So thank you very much, and let's meet in the next one. Hey folks, I welcome you all to Scalar Academy's YouTube channel. And this is the third video in the SQL tutorial series. And in the previous two videos, we learned how to create a table and also how to insert records into our table. And in this particular session, we will see how to work with the where clause and filter out records on the basis of this where clause. So before I actually head to the coding, I request you guys to like this video and also subscribe to our channel. So on that note, let me open up MySQL Workbench. So I've opened up MySQL Workbench over here. Let me go ahead and select my local instance and also put in the password. So the password, I'm typing it over here. Let me hit enter, and we have successfully opened up our local instance. And I would again open up the student table which we had created in the previous video. Now, if you would want to know how to actually create a table and insert records into a table, you can follow the first two videos, and you will find the link for these two videos in the description below. So if you don't really know how to create a table and also how to insert records, I request you guys to watch those videos first and come back over here. Now let me go ahead and open up my student table, and before that I'd actually have to select my database. So the student table I had created in a database called as college. So here, now before I write this, let me also increase the size of this so that you can see this properly. So here I shall write down use, and then I shall give in the database name. So the name of the database is college. After this, I'll just give in a semicolon. Let me select this and select this thunder symbol. And we have executed this. Now that we have selected our database, so in this college database, I have a table called as student. Let me go ahead and open up all of the records which are present over there. So here I shall write select star from, then I need to give in the name of the table. So the name of the table is student. Now let me select this again, and as you see, I have opened up the student table. And in the student table, I've got all of these columns: student ID, first name, last name, marks, and gender. Now, in this video, we are supposed to work with the where clause, and with the help of where clause, we can filter out records on the basis of a condition. So let's say from this entire table, I would want to extract only those records where the gender is equal to male. Let me go ahead and write down the command for that. So I'll start off by writing select star from, and after this I need to give in the table name, which would be equal to student. So till here what we're doing is we are just using the select query. After this we will give in the where clause. So here I shall write down where, and as you see, even the color of this where clause has turned to blue because this is a keyword. So I'm writing select star from student where. After this I need to give in the condition, and the condition is s underscore gender. This needs to be equal to male. So from this entire table, what I'm doing is I'm extracting only those records where the gender of the student is equal to male. Let me select this entire thing. Let me press this. And now if you see, I have extracted only those records where the gender is male. Similarly, let's say from this entire table, I'd want to extract only those records where student ID is equal to or greater than 103. So this where you see, so this is actually a numerical entity, and the ID start from 101 go up till 105. What I'd want is I'd want to extract all of those students whose student ID is equal to or greater than 103. So here I shall write select, let me write this properly. So select star from student, and after this I again given the where clause, and after the where clause I given the condition. So the condition needs to be SID is equal to or greater than 103. Let me actually change this and make this greater than or equal to 103. Let me select this entire thing and let me run this. Now, as you see, the SID over here, it starts from 103 and goes up till 106. Now, let's say if I want the student IDs from 104 or basically upwards of 103, then I shall remove this equal to symbol from over here. Now, if I run this, you shall see that I've extracted only those records where the student ID is greater than 103, and that is why I have 104, 105, and 106. Now, after this, let's say if I'd want to extract records on the basis of multiple conditions. So here I can use the AND operator as well as the OR operator. With the help of AND operator, I'll be basically extracting those records where both of the conditions are satisfied. So for that, let me show you the entire table for you guys again. So I shall again write down select star from student. Now from this, what I'd want to do is I'd want to extract those students where the gender is male and marks scored by the student is less than 50. So if we see from this entire table, we see that there is only one particular record where the gender is male and mark scored is less than 50, which is basically this student, and the name of the student is Matt Cooper. So for this, what I want to do is I'll again start off with the same thing. So we shall have select star from student. After this, I shall give in the where clause, and I will follow it up by giving both the conditions. So let me give in the first condition. Select star from student where, The first condition needs to be gender. So I shall write S gender is equal to, let me write down male over here. After this, I shall integrate it or combine it with the second condition using the AND operator. So this what you see is known as the AND operator, and with the help of this I can combine two conditions together. Select star from student where S gender is equal to male, and the second condition needs to be S marks. Let me write this properly. So S marks needs to be less than 50. Now I shall select this entire thing and I shall execute this. So as you see over here, there is only one student, and the student is Matt Cooper, and as you see, Matt Cooper, his gender is male and his marks are less than 32. Now after this, I would go ahead and show you the entire table again. So let me write down select star from student, and these are all of the records over here. Now again, let me show you another command with the help of the AND operator. So here, now let's say I want all of those records where the gender is female and marks are greater than 50. So let me also write a command for that. So here I shall write select star from student where, after this I need to write down, I need to give the first condition, and this time the condition would be S gender is equal to female. I'll follow it up with the AND operator and then given the second condition. So the second condition is S marks greater than 50. Now let me execute this. I'd have to write from over here select star from student. Now let me execute this, and as you see again, there is only one student and the name of the student is Annie Cleopatra, whose gender is female and who has scored 87 marks. Now we'll go ahead and work with the OR operator. Now before I do that, let me again show you the entire table. So I shall again write down select star from student. I'll execute this, and from this, let's say I want all of those records where either the student ID has to be less than 104 or the marks of the students are greater than 50. So what I'm doing is I'm basically giving in two conditions over here. The first condition is the SID needs to be less than 104 and the marks needs to be greater than 50. So by that condition, seems like we'll be extracting all of that. So what I'll do is, since I want both the cases, so I shall maybe put in the gender condition. So either what I'll do is the SID has to be less than 104, and maybe I'll put the gender is equal to female. Let me just write that down. So select star from, I shall write select star from student where the first condition needs to be S underscore ID is less than 104. After this, I shall write down, I'm giving an OR operator over here, and I'm combining this OR operator with the next condition. So the next condition would be S underscore gender is equal to female, and let me go ahead and execute this. So here what is happening is, if either of these conditions is satisfied, we'll get the result. So what we'll get is, so we've got 6 records over here, and with the help of this condition, so this says if student ID is less than 104, which would mean that we'll get the top 3 records over here. And along with that, since we're also giving in the second condition, which is S gender is female. Now here, even though the student ID is 106, which is greater than 104, but as you see, the gender is female, and that is why we'll also get this particular record. So let me select this entire thing. Let me run this, and as I've told you guys, from the entire table, I have extracted those records where the student ID is either less than 104 or the student gender is equal to female. So folks, this is how we can work with the where clause and filter out records on the basis of this. So thank you very much for attending this session. And again, if you found this session insightful, please do like this video and also subscribe to our channel. And we'll meet in the next one. Thank you.